need something from someone, do you think about what you need when you have a conversation with them? Or do you think about why they would want to give you what you need when you're having the conversation? Because the way to get what we want is to figure out and speak to why this other person would want to give us what we need. That's the same in sales. It's the same thought process for marketing. It's the same process for any human interaction, that one person needs something from someone else. The thought process should be, why would this person want to give me this? Because if I know that, then they will likely give me what I want. And if the goal, after all, is to get what I want, then why wouldn't I do it that way? It's a funny question, because 9 times out of 10, what happens is you need something, you walk up to this person that you need something from, and you ask them for what you need immediately. You might say hello, you might ask how they were doing. The way you ask it probably indicated that you were just there to ask for what you want, and there's nothing malicious about asking for what you want, particularly if you're in a close personal relationship where you have an agreement, or at work where it's business and you have to give each other what you want. It's okay to ask that. It's just that it doesn't work as well. If there is anything else going on in the situation for that other person, you may not become a priority. And in communication, the way you know that you've had a good conversation is by the end of the conversation, you feel like you were a priority during that conversation, and the person has a good understanding of what you guys just talked about. We go through life asking for what we want without thinking about the other person first, and it delays getting what we want. The fast track way to getting what we want is to spend the little bit more time up front figuring out the other person's state of mind, interests, ties to what's important to them. We don't spend enough time on that. And so when I created my company, what I did is I reversed that natural instinct we have to go and ask for what we want. I mean, we work in a society that is very task-oriented. I need you, you need me. So long as there's nothing that conflicts within that communication of I need you, you need me, we're fine. But the problem is something always goes wrong. And we don't have the communication skills that work to make those things salvageable situations, profitable situations, healthy, happy situations. And so I spent my time codifying that in a tangible way, because in the land of emotional intelligence, it doesn't have the luxury of be able to measure it and eat it up and learn it the same way that the IQ has. And so through trial and error, I built a whole vocabulary within the spectrum of sales and marketing to speak to that other person rather than your agenda. It's a method of listening, acknowledging, transitioning, and really putting the other person's mindset first, listening for cues, saying particular things, and then getting what you want in return. It is super uncomfortable to do at first. It feels weird to a lot of people. It isn't for everyone. It is 100% effective to me, to other people that I have helped with it, but ultimately the only person that can truly determine that is you. Because if a plan works for 1,000 other people and doesn't work for you, then sure, you can consider it doesn't work. However, I've yet to see it not work, and it is a massive tool to have in your arsenal going through life as just trying to have good communication skills, understand other people, be respected and respectable, And overall, you hear a lot more yes and a lot less no when you're able to speak to people in a way where they feel acknowledged and heard and respected, rather than just cogs on a wheel that, serve a certain purpose for the moment, and sort of disconnected from their identity. No, if you interact with people acknowledging the them part and not just the it of I need them to do this, but the person that I need to do something thinks, feels, has perceptions, obligations, and things that are worrying them. And if you can tap into those, then that's 90% of what you need to do in order to gain the kind of connection with that person that makes them feel like you're someone that they can interact with. That's being emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence is the reason I have been so successful. However, in order to realize that, I had to break away from what was very much the system, in that me working within the confines of a structure that rewarded things like immediate metrics and numbers when you're in a field like marketing was not working for me. And I knew that my skill set, the one that I have that stands out from my otherwise average skills, was my emotional intelligence, because I knew that I had developed an awareness for the realm of human to human interaction and what that really needs to look like to work right. I'm so into that sector of what it is to maneuver through the world. And I use that to my advantage, that somebody like me wasn't going to fit really well within a 9 to 5 structure, because I'm not as effective within that structure. It's nothing against the structure and those that use other skill sets to find happiness and be successful. Nothing against those. I think this is just about knowing that when you have a particular skill set, or you see a particular skill set being super beneficial, and that might mean you have to go a non-conventional route and do it for yourself, that is possible. And much of why I want to do this is to share those experiences with you, because there are so many of you out there. And I remember the feeling of feeling like, am I the only one that's like this? And why is everyone else behaving and communicating that way or this other way? I want to be here for those of you that are looking for even further ways of enriching your emotional intelligence. Recognize that that maybe is your high skill set, and then what can we do to leverage it for you so that you're getting out of conversations what you really want to get out of them, and bring the people around you to kind of your level of awareness as well. So my path for emotional intelligence was sort of a natural one. And I say that with the disclaimer that what I've learned about emotional intelligence as a spectrum is that you don't have to have been born with a perception that is particularly keen on emotions and human interaction. You don't have to be born with that. You can have a mathematical mind, to be stereotypical. And you can develop this. It's not something that you either have it or you don't. It's something very much that can be developed, and you will still struggle to reach perfection, because the nature and land of emotions is vast, complicated, and very difficult to communicate. So, anyway, as I just continue my awareness for my surroundings and what makes people think and what makes people react certain ways, and the time that it takes certain people to react versus others, how some people seem to get really angry, and triggered, and how others, you can see they're contemplative and they're kind of cool, calm, and collected. I was always fascinated in figuring out why. So I was fortunate enough to go to a university where I was able to focus on that. And I got my degree in philosophy and spent a lot of time on psychology and sociology as well, always just being very interested in what makes us work well together, and also how can we learn to understand our own selves better in order to then present our best selves to not only the world, but to be able to then interact with this world where you still need to find some sort of success and occupation in order to, survive in our culture. And, how can we package that and put that together in a way that it would actually translate into helping you? Not just talk, not just something that makes you feel better to watch because you're saying to yourself, maybe, hey, that sounds like me. Oh my gosh, somebody understands me. But more than that, use it to make yourself stand out, because I will tell you now, my number one observation is that if you grow your emotional awareness and you focus on it, you will be in the top 1% of human beings. That is how few people spend time developing this as a real skill. And you could say potentially maybe the issue there is that this is a non tangible subject, but I can tell you through trial and error, through constructing verbiage that speaks to the way that humans instinctively still think, you can 100% codify all this, package it up, and deliver it in a way that makes you the kind of person that when people communicate with you and when you give your attention in a situation, people will take pause. And the reason that will happen is because it is very rare to meet a human being that can harness a room, because that whole room knows that what that person has to say is going to be delivered in a way that makes them feel positive when they receive it. Because we live in a world of task oriented, conflict driven, bartering, and capitalism, and all those things that I fundamentally still think are good. But because we live in a system like that, we tend to want to sharpen engineering skills and mathematics, and all those things are definitely needed, but they will always be second to how you, the person, interact with other people. They'll always be second. You cannot convince me otherwise, though I welcome you to engage in conversation and we can certainly talk about it. What I want to do with this at the end of the day is to give you information that you can use immediately and start feeling something positive inside yourself immediately. Restore your faith in your ability to be understood immediately. I don't want this content to be something where at the end it's elusive. No, I want to make it very clear for you, because I fumbled around for a lot of years in this emotional space of really wanting to make sure I understand a person before what I need from a person, because I know that by understanding them first, then their willingness to give me what I want will be higher. Because I understood that so young, I've just always wanted to be able to take that and condense that and make it easier for some of you to see and experience through me, so you can skip ahead and start getting more of the rewards and less of the back to back to back lessons. You'll go through the lessons in themselves once you learn different techniques, but you don't have to engage with the wrong people to learn these lessons. You can learn cues of who are good people in your life to start using this knowledge with and sharing it with, and feel safe around. I learned it around strangers because I was just throwing tennis balls at the wall, just trying to understand more about people. And I gained knowledge that way. But if I can save you from having to go through that, that would be good. A lot of my initiative for doing this work is because ever since I was as small as I can remember, I had a absolute hate for bullies, a hatred. And I knew that at a young age anyway, size wise, like physically trying to overcome a bully. And though I was never the target of bullying, probably because I just had this way about me, like because I just hated it so much, it was like maybe try somebody else. I don't know. But I would witness this stuff and realize that the answer is not in muscling this person, and that this person is acting this way for a reason. And that if I could figure out that reason, then not only could I prevent my friend that I know from experiencing this, but this bully could maybe enjoy their life, because there is nothing positive and happy about what's going on inside of a bully. And those were my first experiences wanting to just continue focusing on the emotional layer of living. And I was probably 6, 7, 8 around that time, and never steered away from it. And any time I've ever witnessed any kind of bullying since then, it's a zero tolerance policy. Absolutely. We'll teach lessons later, but for now, in order to protect someone from a bully, it's a close contact, not close contact, but close close the contact situation. Um, but a lot of this work and the language that I'll use on this channel will give you fuel to teach your children of what to say to bullies and how to kind of take your power in your ability to get through to them. Because bullies, it's a power thing, right? Because of a weakness that they feel deep down. So the person that is able to disarm has more power than anyone in the room. And I want you to experience that power. And with this content, I do want to give a disclaimer. Use at your own discretion. Everything here is based on my education at university, my business, and my interest in philosophy, psychology, and just the realm of human behavior in general. What I teach you, or what you gather from these conversations, because honestly guys, these are conversations. This is not teaching. This is something I went through, what I learned, here it is for you. So I hope you think of it as a conversation. I certainly do. But I want to let you know that with an ability that other people do not share, with a higher sense of things, comes also power. Your same power that you can use for disarming a bully, or getting through to your significant other when they're just over emotional and triggered right now, and how you can really calm them down and have a conversation rather than it becoming a conflict. That same power can be used for harm. And if you get exceptional at communicating with people and making other people feel safe and acknowledged around you, you must always use those skills for a virtuous cause. Because if you do not use it for betterment of yourself and others, you won't reap the rewards that come along with this kind of, what I consider, a superpower. When 1% of the population is actively trying to increase their emotional awareness, you can consider it a superpower. in my opinion. So proceed with caution in that, keep mindful, because you will know what to say in the middle of an argument with your spouse to cut them, to hurt them. And that, just because you can, is almost always a reason why you shouldn't. Just because you can, meaning it's easy for you to do, is exactly why you should not do it. Where there is resistance in the realm of interacting with other human beings, there is probably work that needs to be done. And that's the real hard part. That's the real win when you overcome it. Using this information to manipulate is not something, it's just something I can't condone. And I encourage those of you seeking things like that to think a little bit further, because that is emotionally ignorant to even think at all that the purpose of trying to gain emotional awareness would be manipulation. Now, I will make a distinction, because I also fundamentally am a fan of sales, because that's capitalism, and that's how our society got to be as strong, though sometimes it seems extremely messed up. But on the whole, we've developed ourselves into such a situation um, because of all of these things. So, just know that when we say here emotional intelligence, what I'm really trying to convey is awareness. Our emotions, in my opinion, do not live in the same realm as intelligence. Our intelligence, or our IQ, is something a lot more tangible, in that we can come up with standardized tests, ask the same questions to different people, do that enough times, you have enough data, we know it works. With emotional awareness, that kind of intelligence lives only through experience, witnessing other experience and taking in that information and coming to conclusions about it. But emotional awareness, the work of it is so internal that you have to be your own accountability partner, which was one of the biggest challenges I had in my path to starting a business, because it was like the only way I could actually flex that muscle was to go out and do my own thing through that. And that's an accountability thing. And such is the same with emotional awareness. You have to be the one that challenges yourself in situations where you might want to get angry. Instead, you pause and you remind yourself, I'm working on this. I need to start figuring out why this is making me angry. Does it have to even do with what's going on right now? And how that bent in my perception is impacting this current situation with this other person. Your awareness to be able to respond rather to react. Your choice to pick conversation over conflict. These are skills that you will develop when you are developing your emotional intelligence. And those skills make up what I would consider your emotional awareness at any given point. Now, we all go backwards and forwards. Yogis will tell you this. People that work on, nature of being and meditating and things, they will tell you this. 1 step forward, 40 steps back, 20 steps forward, whatever it is, your pace is your pace. The goal is to move forward. Remembering only 1% could really be considered emotionally fully aware, using that as their number one skill to obtain success and happiness and everybody else is picking other stuff, it's going to take some practice to get there. But if you are a person that you know that's your thing and you're pushing against a system that seems to really not reward that being a skill set, you have to carve out your own space. Or you can choose to bottle that awareness back up. But you may have noticed when you try to do that, it's extremely painful. You're not wired that way. If you are wired to be able to be in tune with watching how people interact and being able to anticipate when a particular reaction is coming, that is a superpower. You have to use that. If you don't have that at all, you have to sharpen that. If you have a skill set that is outside of this at all, and you start getting halfway decent at this stuff, I'm quite positive that puts you in the 1% of the 1%. So do not go run a different direction just because you feel like, well, gosh, I'm a painter, or, I'm a salesman. No, if you're good at numbers or art or whatever you're good at, and you add this to what you're able to do, that's a superpower. I don't know any other superpower that can be attained by just spending time thinking inside of yourself.